Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. There seems to be no end to controversies at the India AI Impact Summit 2026. Today, a group of youth Congress workers took off their t-shirts and briefly protested at Bharat Mandapam in Delhi, raising slogans against Prime Minister Narendra Modi before being whisked away by security personnel. Now that the incident happened on a day when several top CEOs attended the AI summit, raised the BJP's hackles, who called it an attempt by the Congress to sabotage India's global image. Now let's see what unfolded at this summit. Now the protesters reportedly entered the venue using QR coded passes. The Delhi police sources said that around 10 people claiming to be members of the Youth Congress participated in the demonstration. That's what exactly they've said, and I'm going to quote that 4 to 5 individuals have been taken into custody. What I'm told is, and if you see the pictures on the screen, here you see the topless protest, the shirtless protest, which has gone viral today on the social media. Now, these protesters from the Youth Congress, they marched inside hall number 5. This is hall number 5, where you see them holding their t-shirts. And inside the hall number 5, these Youth Congress workers were also raising slogans. They were raising t-shirts which had the imprint of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and former US President Donald Trump, along with slogans such as India-US trade deal, Epstein files, and PM is compromised. Now, the protest lasted only a few minutes, but resulted in a commotion, with some attendees expressing shock at the disruption. Now, BJP obviously has slammed this protest, and they said that this is a deliberately orchestrated disruption. And in fact, Sambit Patra also held a press conference saying that Congress is a traitor. The Youth Congress leaders are a traitor. They are brainless. They are topless. This is what he had to say. Now, this is all coming in the backdrop of this AI summit. These pictures which you see have gone viral, and they've become a huge talking point. Now, whether these protests were fair or unfair, that's a different question altogether. But PM Modi is compromised, US trade deal, Epstein files, these were the buzzwords at this brief protest which happened at the Bharat Mandapam at the AI summit. Now, shortly after this protest was over, these workers, these Youth Congress workers, were whisked away by the police. There was a huge meeting at 10 Rajaji Marg at Mallikarjun Kharge's residence, where it was decided that now in 5 to 6 states, before the second part of the budget session begins, there will be a protest by the farmers, by the cotton growing farmers in areas like Bhopal, in Yavatmal, in various, and this protest is going to go nationwide, where there'll be a huge protest by the farmers. You can see Jairam Ramesh coming out and speaking to the media immediately after this meeting was over at 10 Rajaji Marg. Now, why is all this protest taking place? Because Congress is wanting to make a point that this is a compromised prime minister. India has given too many concessions to America. India has surrendered before America, and it has not taken into account the welfare of the farmers. This is what is coming out of the protest, the announcement of the protest which Jairam Ramesh made, and also the protest, the expression of protest by the Youth Congress leaders. Now, what we are seeing consistently, that Donald Trump is also in some way or the other trying to pressure India. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump was speaking at the Board of Peace. He again made a mention of the fact that he tried to impose 200% tariffs on India and Pakistan, and that's when the two countries agreed for a ceasefire. His tirade didn't stop there. He also made a mention of 11 jets being downed. So, which means that at the Board of Peace, where India was present as an observer, he again was trying to pressure India to come into Board of Peace as a permanent member. Now, is Donald Trump trying to consistently apply pressure on India? And why is India not able to say anything? Which is why these protests are happening, which is why you see this anger growing. Now, I would like to play out the bite of Donald Trump, where he's talking about how 11 jets were downed. Let's listen.
You know, bad things happen. So, Prime Minister, I want to thank you because that was a very big deal. People have no idea. A lot of them say, "Oh, well, they weren't fighting." They were fighting. 11 jets were shot down, very expensive jets, and they were all in. Both of them were all in, and now they.
Here you saw he's talking about 11 jets being downed, and also in the same clip, he is talking about 200% tariff being imposed on India and Pakistan, and which is why they agreed for a ceasefire. So you see that the impression which goes out is that India is surrendered. Prime Minister Modi is a compromised prime minister, and in some way or the other, the impression also goes that Prime Minister Modi has not been able to take into account the interest of the farmers, and which is why this kind of a protest was today seen. Joining me this evening is Mohsin Raza Khan, international affairs expert. Thank you so much, Professor Mohsin Raza Khan. And my first question to you is this shirtless protest which played out at the at the Artificial Intelligence Summit playing out in Delhi. Would you say that it has really humiliated and insulted India at an international event like this?
I wouldn't say it has insulted India in any way because, first of all, the guests have already left. Yesterday was the main day. And they were trying to make their voice heard, which in a democracy should be normal, especially considering the state that we are in, the problem with freedom of speech that we have. You know, just yesterday, a case was entered in the Delhi High Court, which said that UAPA is so draconian, and this is Arvind Datar, the lawyer, saying it in front of the court, that even if he were to say, for example, that the AI summit was no good, just that much is enough to say that India is being defamed and UAPA or anti-terrorism laws to be applied, which means that no bail and years of jail for something as little as that. So we have a kind of an undeclared emergency where we can't speak our minds. You know.
Are you suspecting that police is going to slap a UAPA case against these youth Congress workers? They have been detained. Now we do not know what, but Sambit Patra held a press conference where he said that these Congress workers are topless, they are traitors, they are brainless. He went to the extent of saying that. So are you suspecting that there'll be a UAPA case against these youth Congress workers?
If you remember, a few years ago, there was a protest in Parliament by unemployed youth who were not affiliated to any political party. Yes. And severely draconian laws were applied to them. I don't remember whether it was sedition or UAPA, what was applied. So these workers made it.
No, they carried smoke cans. They carried smoke cans and went inside the house, and which is what, which is why the cases were slapped against them.
Yeah. But that certainly cannot be considered terrorism, in my opinion, nor could it be considered seditious against the Republic of India or something. They were making a point that they were unemployed for years and the government was doing nothing for them. So the Congress workers may not get UAPA slapped against them because they are political party workers. I don't know. But the others, if anybody else had done this, for sure, they would have been hauled to court without bail for years. So in such circumstances, you know, people do what they can. I mean, even in a draconian system like China or Russia, after all, people do protest at huge costs. They spend years in jail after that. India is supposed to be a democracy with freedom of speech, according to our constitution. So they were well within their rights, I would say.
Right. But Mohsin, do you feel that now there'll be a serious case against these youth Congress workers? Because I don't know what is going to happen, what action will be taken. But do you think that it has really insulted India on a day like this, when it was a final day of the AI summit? And given the fact that for the last 3-4 days, AI summit has only grabbed headlines for the controversies. And this was the last thing anyone could have expected.
See, on substantive points, it is true when they say Epstein that minister of the government had his name appear in the papers, in the Epstein papers. Dozens of emails, many meetings, and a lot of interaction between. At that point, he was a BJP member, but not yet a minister, and a convicted uh, child sex offender. That is, Epstein had been convicted by 2008. So when Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri was meeting him in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, he was a convicted man already. You can't make the excuse that you didn't know that he was a child sex
As an
offender.
analyst, Mohsin, as an analyst, if you have to look at these shirtless protests which happened at the AI summit, do you think it was untimely? It was rude on the part of Congress to hoist a protest like this on a day like this, and especially at an international event like an AI summit. Was this can the party actually justify these kind of protests on a day like this?
What do you do when the entire mainstream media, what I call the Godi media, refuses to carry even things like Rahul Gandhi's Padyatra, which were quite popular online and in person? So there's a kind of a media shutdown on the opposition. The opposition can't get its voice heard. And in fact, it is only the Congress actually that you hear. You almost never hear of any other opposition party, whether it's the Communist Party, CPIM, or you never hear of even the Samajwadi or Trinamool Congress or DMK leading large protests, at least not in the capital. So if the main opposition party can't raise its voice, then who can? So I don't see this as defaming India at all. In fact, if anything, it should raise India's prestige. Were it to be true that India has that kind of freedom of speech, that,
Do you
that we
believe
can get away.
but do you believe that Congress has been able to send out a message which it has been raising in Parliament on the streets about Epstein files, whether or whether it is about the US trade deal that India has surrendered? Prime Minister Modi is compromised. Now, this is what Congress has been consistently saying since the beginning of the budget session, since the time the Epstein files disclosures happened. This is what Congress has been saying. So, was Congress able to convey this message at an international forum like this today?
See, most of the international guests, at least the prominent ones, have left. So this was more of a domestic stage now today. And, it was, if you look at this event itself, it is a bit of a farce. That is,
Okay, I'll just interrupt you here because there's a breaking news coming in. You can see the ANI tweet on your screen, which says that Indian Youth Congress Bharat Mandapam protest. Delhi police sources say Delhi police conducted raids across Delhi NCR in connection with Youth Congress protest at Bharat Mandapam. Raids are underway to apprehend protesters who fled the Mandapam. 4 arrests have been made so far. Raids are underway to locate the remaining protesters. Identifications are ongoing based on over 15 video clips. Now, the police have obtained some names during interrogation. The protesters' phones are switched off. Now, what is this situation going to lead to? What are you suspecting, Mohsin?
I'm hoping that because they are political party members, they will not be suffering the same consequences that a common citizen would if he were to protest. So, but the way things are going, the kind of draconian way they are clamping down, I fear it could turn the other way as well. And we have covered the Epstein files, but even the other issues that they have raised, for example, the India-US or India-EU trade deals, they are not wrong in the sense that I've covered them in my own channel, on my own videos, that in some areas we have kind of sold out. As I said, in terms of agriculture, in terms of certain kinds of manufacturing, especially automotive sector.